So, imagine for a second that you are digging through an old hard drive.
Oh, yeah. We all have one of those.
Right. You know the exact kind I'm talking about. It's dusty, it's sitting in a drawer somewhere, probably has one of those old firewire cables that you can't even plug into your current laptop without a dongle the size of a brick.
Yeah, good luck finding the right adapter for that today.
Exactly. So you're looking for, I don't know, a tax return or maybe an embarrassing old photo, but instead you find a folder and it's simply marked demos.
Okay.
And you click play on a file that's date stamped over 10 years ago. And what blasts out of your speakers does not sound old, it doesn't sound retro, it sounds like it belongs in the future.
Which is such a wild experience. It's the digital equivalent of opening a buried time capsule and finding a functioning iPhone inside. It just completely disrupts your sense of the timeline.
It really does. And that is precisely the story we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the release of the EP Peekaboo by the electronic artist EeL. But I want to be clear right off the bat here. This isn't just a standard review of a new song.
No, definitely not.
This is a look at a fascinating case of what I'm calling musical archaeology.
Musical archaeology. I like that. It really is an excavation. And to guide us through this, we've pulled together a really comprehensive stack of sources.
We've got some great stuff today.
We do. We're looking at the official release notes from TuneCore Japan, detailed production logs from the producer Ryo Mameda's official site, and even some transcripts of, and I love this term, thought leakage.
Thought leakage.
Yeah, from a podcast detailing the creation process.
I mean, thought leakage is absolutely going to be my new excuse for everything I say on this show from now on. Sorry, that wasn't an opinion, that was just leakage.
It's the perfect disclaimer.
It really is. So our mission today is to figure out how a track created over a decade ago, which was inspired by a totally random internet mashup, was resurrected to bridge the gap between sweet pop and aggressive chaos.
And that specific contrast, sweet versus chaos, is really the heartbeat of this entire story. It's about how distinct, opposing forces can create something enduring if you just let them collide hard enough.
So let's start with the artist herself. Who exactly is EeL? Because if you look at the resume and the notes, well, eclectic is kind of an understatement. It's almost contradictory.
Eclectic is putting it mildly, honestly. EeL is a female electronic artist, but she occupies a very specific, very interesting intersection in the Japanese music scene. She sits right at the crossroads of club music, game music culture, and experimental electronics.
Which kind of feels like 3 different parties happening in the exact same building.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've got the sweaty, bass-heavy club scene over here, the hyperkinetic, neon-colored world of rhythm games down the hall, and then the avant-garde art crowd sipping wine in the corner.
Right, and in a way, they're completely different parties, but she somehow manages to be the DJ for all of them simultaneously. The sources describe her defining sound as a fusion of catchy pop sensibilities with digital textures and aggressive energy.
So it's not just one or the other.
No, it's both. And she has the receipts to prove she can navigate all these worlds.
Yeah, let's actually look at the credibility here. Because she wasn't just making noise in a basement, the sources highlight that she was a guest vocalist on the track Plastic Girl by the group Capsule.
Which is a massive deal. I mean, for anyone who follows Japanese electronic pop, Capsule is basically royalty.
Oh, absolutely.
Yasutaka Nakata, the mastermind behind Capsule, he basically defined the sound of modern J-pop. He's the guy behind Perfume and Kari Pamu Pamu. He created that ultra-polished, high-fashion electronic sound.
So being invited onto a Capsule track isn't just a gig, it's a stamp of approval. It says, you understand the assignment, you can hang with the absolute best in the genre.
Exactly. It means you can handle high-gloss, precision pop.
Yeah.
But then, just to completely pivot, the sources note she's also providing vocals for a track called 777 in Konami's Pop and Music series.
Oh man, I played pop and music back in the day. Those games are intense.
They really are.
It's not just tapping your foot to the beat, it's a full-on athletic event.
It is. And rhythm games, especially that specific era of Konami games, they require a very specific kind of musical energy. It has to be high octane, it has to be catchy, and it has to be incredibly technically precise because players are done buttons to the millisecond.
Right.
So you have the high gloss pop world of Capsule and the hyper energetic technical world of rhythm games.
And then there's the track that the sources point to as the prime example of her specific style, which is Little Prince.
Yes. Little Prince is the absolute key to understanding EeL's DNA. If you want to understand Peekaboo, you have to understand Little Prince first.
Okay, lay it on us.
The sources describe it as combining intense breakcore rhythms with a cute and innocent aesthetic.
Breakcore. We need to pause there for a second and unpack that, just so everyone listening is on the exact same page, because breakcore gets thrown around a lot in electronic circles, and it is not exactly lullaby music.
Far from it. Breakcore is characterized by complex, shattered, rapid-fire drumming. It takes the amen break.
The classic 60s drum solo.
Exactly, that 6-second drum solo that birthed hip-hop and jungle, and it chops it up into absolute chaos. It's aggressive, it's often dissonant, and the time signatures can get really mathy and complicated. So imagine taking that almost violent percussion and layering it with vocals that are soft, whispery, and undeniably pop.
It's like Hello Kitty leading a riot.
That is actually a surprisingly accurate analogy. The sources call this the contrast between sweetness and chaos, or nostalgia and futurism. And that subversive approach to pop expression is what gives her such staying power.
Because it just completely disrupts your expectations.
Right. You hear the sweet voice, you lean in, and then the beat just smacks you in the face.
Which brings us perfectly to the new release, Peekaboo. Because if Little Prince was the prototype, Peekaboo feels like the evolution of that sound. But here is where it gets really interesting for me. The origin story of this song. Well, it starts with a random internet rabbit hole.
As so many great modern stories do.
Right. We're looking at the production logs from Ryoma Maeda, the composer and producer behind EeL, and he talks about the trigger for this song. He literally calls it an accidental discovery.
He was doing what we all do, scrolling through SoundCloud, letting the algorithm or the stream take in places. It's that state of passive listening where you aren't looking for anything specific, which honestly is usually when the best ideas hit you.
And he stumbles upon a track by an unknown artist. The sources don't even name the artist because Maeda didn't know who it was. It was just some random upload. But it was a mashup. And the formula of this mashup completely blew his mind.
This is so fascinating to me because it shows how creativity actually works. It's often about connecting two totally unrelated dots. The mashup was combining SUM41 with drum and bass.
SUM41, like the fat lip, pop punk, skateboard in a suburban driveway, SUM41.
The very same.
Yeah.
The production notes specifically mentioned the punk guitar impulse of SEM41.
And they mashed that with drum and bass. I mean, on paper, that sounds like a train wreck. Structurally, those genres are in completely different universes.
You'd think so, yeah. Let's actually break that down technically to understand why it's so weird. Pop punk, like SEM41, is usually driving 4 on the floor or straight eighth notes. It's chugging, it's about 140 to 160 BPM, but it feels really grounded. It's stomping music.
Right, it's downstrokes on a guitar. It's very on the beat.
Exactly. But drum and bass is heavily syncopated. It's built on breakbeats, usually much faster, around 170 to 175 BPM. It's airy, complex, and it focuses a lot on the snare and hi-hat interplay. They have completely different grooves. One pushes down, the other kind of flies forward.
So if you just layer them together, it should sound incredibly messy, like a bunch of shoes in a dryer.
But Maeda heard this anonymous matchup and had a total aha moment. He was struck by the sheer coolness of the combination. He felt this drive to shape that specific energy, that raw punk impulse, multiplied by jungle speed, into his own creation.
So Peekaboo isn't a cover of SUM41, obviously. It's an original composition built on that specific architectural blueprint. Punk attitude, jungle velocity.
Right, it's about capturing the energy of the mashup, not the literal notes. He wanted to recreate that exact feeling of collision. The sources say he wanted to take that impulse and refine it. He saw a spark in a rough SoundCloud upload and thought, I can build a bonfire with
But
this.
here's the twist that made me do a double take when I was reading the source notes. We've been talking about this release as if it's brand new, and it just came out on streaming platforms. But I have to tell you, the demo for Peekaboo is over 10 years old.
This is the time capsule aspect we touched on earlier.
Yeah, the sources say the track was found in data archives shortly after EeL went on hiatus. Maeda was literally digging up old demo data.
Digging is the right word. It's pure musical archaeology. And this raises a really important question. Why release it now? Usually, if a producer finds a 10-year-old demo, they cringe.
Oh, absolutely. They think, oh, wow, those drums sound so 2012. Or, that synth sounds like a preset everyone used back then. Or, why did I put that dubstep wobble in the bridge? What was I even thinking?
Exactly. Technology moves fast. Electronic music usually ages like milk, not wine. Plugins change, mastering standards change, we call it the loudness wars, everything shifts. A track mix in 2012 often sounds quiet and thin compared to a track mix today. But Maeda's analysis was totally different. He listened to this decade-old file and felt that it maintained a very high quality.
He specifically called it aggressive and noted that it didn't feel dated. Why is that? Is it just luck?
I don't think it's luck at all. I think it connects back to the inspiration source. Punk impulse and jungle beats, those are raw, visceral energies. They aren't tied to a specific trend of production, like, say, the tropical house sound that was everywhere for a year, or the specific sidechain compression sound of a certain era EDM.
So because the core idea was based on energy and impulse rather than just being trendy, it survived the decade test.
Precisely. Raw impulse often ages better than over-polished production. If you polish something to sound perfectly like the radio in 2013, it sounds like 2013 forever. If you make something that sounds like chaos and energy, it just sounds like chaos and energy. It transcends the timestamp.
That is a really powerful lesson for any creative listening right now. Don't chase the trend, chase the energy. But let's actually break down what is on this EP, because it's not just the one song. It's a whole package.
It's a 4-track EP, and the way it's structured gives us a really interesting look into the creative process. It's almost like they're showing their work, or letting us look at the blueprints.
First up, we have the title track, Peekaboo. The description here is aggressive yet pop-driven.
And that's that fusion we talked about. You have EeL's vocals, which are the pop element, floating over this bed of Ryoma Maeda's production, which is channeling that punk jungle mashup energy. It's fast, it's loud, but the melody completely catches you.
Credits-wise, we have EeL on lyrics and vocals, and Maeda handling composition, production, and programming, a classic duo dynamic. But then look at track 3, Peekaboo Japanese version.
Yeah, I saw that. And the sources mentioned there is also an English version.
The production logs are a bit funny here, because Maeda admits that since the session was 10 years ago, the details are a bit fuzzy.
That's hilarious.
He knows there were 2 sets of lyrics, one English, one Japanese, but the actual reason why is just lost to time.
It's like finding a cryptic note you wrote to yourself years ago. You know you wrote it, but you just can't remember the context. But for the listener, this is actually a huge gift. Having both versions allows you to experience the sound from multiple angles.
How so? I mean, it's the exact same backing track, right? Why does the language matter that much to the music?
It matters a lot because language actually changes the rhythm of a song. Japanese is a more-timed language. It has a very consistent, almost machine gun syllable flow. Every syllable takes up roughly the same amount of time. Taka taka taka.
Whereas English is just all over the place.
Right, English is stress time. We hold certain syllables longer and skip over others quickly to get to the next stressed beat. We swallow our vowels.
So even with the same beat, the percussive nature of the vocals shifts completely.
Exactly. In the Japanese version, the vocals might lock into the breakbeat completely differently than the English version. It changes the groove. It's almost like a remix just by changing the language. It gives the track a totally different texture.
That's a great point. It's not just a translation, it's a rhythmic variation. Speaking of variations, we have to talk about track 2, For Common People Demo.
I love that they included this. This is my favorite part of the release, honestly.
The description says it has rough, unfiltered energy laid bare.
In the age of Instagram filters and auto-tune and AI mastering, releasing a track explicitly labeled demo is a bold move. It's offering the listener a glimpse into the raw state of the music.
It's showing the sketch marks, it's leaving the scaffolding up.
It is. It validates the idea that the impulse is the most important part. By sharing the demo, they're saying, look, the magic was here from the very beginning. It wasn't added in post-production. It wasn't fixed in the mix. It really helps demystify the process for other creators.
It sounds less like a product and more like a document, like this is where we started.
Right. And then finally, track 4 is Cherry Blossom, featuring Ryoma Maeda Remix, which showcases the collaborative nature of the project, bringing Maeda in as a feature on the remix and just rounding out the package.
So let's step back for a minute. What does this all mean? We have a track inspired by a SU41 mashup, buried for 10 years, and released now as a fresh EP. Why should you, the listener, care about this specific release?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Peekaboo isn't just a catchy song. It's a testament to the enduring power of a strong initial idea.
The idea being that punk energy and fast beats are universal.
That, and the incredible value of revisiting your own archives. We live in a culture that is so obsessed with the new. New content, new posts, new trends. There is this massive pressure to constantly produce. But sometimes, your absolute best work is something you started years ago and just forgot about.
It's wild to think that if Maeda hadn't opened that folder, this energy would have just sat there as zeros and ones forever. It would have essentially ceased to exist.
And it proves that good music doesn't expire. If the core emotion, that aggression, that pop sweetness is real, it doesn't matter if it was made in 2013 or 2026. The tools change. but the feeling doesn't.
It makes me want to go through my old notebooks. Who knows what brilliant or absolutely terrible ideas are hiding in there?
You might find your own peekaboo, or at least a funny drawing.
I'll take either.
Yeah.
But seriously, for everyone listening, think about the relevance of this. We all have those projects we shelved. The half-written novel, the business plan from 3 years ago, the song demo on a dusty hard drive.
The energy you had back then might be exactly what is needed today. Maybe you didn't finish it then because the world wasn't ready, or maybe you weren't ready. But the context changes. The loudness wars end. The trends cycle back. What sounded weird 10 years ago might sound incredibly fresh today.
And I want to leave you with a thought that really stuck with me from the SoundCloud trigger story.
The anonymous mashup.
Right. Some random person on the internet threw SUM41 and drum and bass together, probably just for fun. They likely have no idea that 10 years later, a professional producer in Japan would cite their little experiment as the blueprint for a major release.
It's the butterfly effect of creativity. A small flap of wings on SoundCloud causes a hurricane of a track a decade later.
Exactly. So here's the question for you to mull over today. If a random anonymous mashup on the internet can spark a decade-spanning creative project, what small, fleeting piece of inspiration might you be ignoring right now? What if that weird little idea you had in the shower this morning or that random image you scrolled past is actually the seed for your best work? You just have to be willing to stop scrolling and start digging.
And please don't delete your demos.
Never delete the demos. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.